What's up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel, and today we're going to take a look at the new CT Toys Ben Reilly Spider-Man. This is a KO knockoff bootleg of the Mafex 143 Spider-Man, and I'm excited to jump into it and see what this figure is all about. If it's a quality figure. It was something I got for less than $20 off AliExpress. If y'all have been watching the channel for a while, you know I did a lot of stuff with the brown suited CT Toys Wolverine. I got the tiger stripe one now too. So quality wise, CT Toys has been knocking it out of the park with these KOs. But I'm interested to see what this figure is all about, see if it's worth it, if it's got some maybe parts and pieces I want to swap to other figures. Because one of the interesting things I noted when I saw the listing for this is it comes with an extra head that the original figure didn't come with. And it's I think it's based off like the PlayStation Spider-Man. So it'd be interesting to see how that looks on this figure, maybe other figures potentially. Because if you look at the back of the box, that extra masthead is not on the back of the box. So that's a neat little item that they threw in there. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and just jump into the figure and see what this figure is all about. All right, so here's the figure out of the box, and we'll take a look at all the accessories in a moment. But I hadn't had much time to play around with this, but my initial reaction is it's a very solid figure. It doesn't feel too much like a knockoff. There's not super loose joints or, like plastic flaking off or paint flaking off. So it does seem to have the quality that CT Toys with their knockoffs have been showing so far. One thing I'd like to point out, this is a very, like a very dainty figure. So far with all the CT Toys bootleg figures, they've been smaller than the original figures. But if, a lot of people like that with the Wolverine figure because the original Mafex was maybe too big. But this is, definitely a smaller figure. I don't have the original to compare to, but I do have, this is my go-to Spider-Man. This is the Amazing Friends Spider-Man on that Amazing Fantasy 15 body. And it's the smaller of the Spider-Man molds. And as you can see, this guy is a little smaller than that. But I think that's all right for Spider-Man. I don't really want a big, super imposing looking Spider-Man. But yeah, feel and hand, I will say it passes the test there. It feels good to articulate. So since we're talking about articulation, let me go ahead and just kind of play around with it. Let's see if we get a good idea of what it can do. Let's start with the head. Okay, there's a dumbbell coming up out of the neck to the head, and it doesn't seem to be getting too much on the back, but you can extend the neck back to get them to look all the way up. And neck goes forward and head tucks down. I'm wondering, let's see if we can pull this off real quick. Okay, so sometimes, oh yeah, there is, I don't know if y'all can see that. Let me make sure this is in focus. Yeah, there's like a little crook in the neck joint there. If we spin that around and have that bend on it going the other way, we can definitely get more head going up. So that's something you can play around with to get maximum articulation. Now let's see how well the arms move. Now one thing I am noticing, I can't quite see if it's showing up on camera, but that joint there for the shoulder is definitely a different color than the rest of the body. It's not too noticeable, but that is something I'm picking up on here. But see the arm all the way up, down. There's a lot of up and down movement. Kind of getting a little gappy, but that's kind of, I think, how the original figure is. But that butterfly joint can go far across. We see that reaching over. It's just more of an upward across. Can't really go like straight across. You kind of got to angle it up and go across. Let's see the arms. There's a little bit of squeak there when I articulate it, but I'm okay with that. That shows that, the joints are pretty solid, a little stiff, but I'd rather it be a little stiff than loose. So let's see, double jointed. Oh yeah, all the way up on the double joint there. We got a ball peg there on the wrist, so we can go every which way with the hand movement. Let's see this torso articulation. We got you know, a two-piece diaphragm ball joint system with the torso. Up top, oh yeah, we can arch back a lot. Come forward, not as much as back. Now let's see the lower part of the abs. Yeah, we get a little bit, very easy to pop off, but that's okay. Rather it pop off than break. It's about as far forward as we get. I'm sure we can get pretty extreme backwards between the lower and the upper. Yeah, he can definitely limbo. Now let's see the legs. There's a little bit of rotation there. That's where, actually a lot of rotation going back. Yeah, a lot of rotation. So that's where your hidden thigh swivel is. Now let's see, yep, drop down hips. So this leg, oh, look at that. That is one of the best kick forwards I've seen in a while. Now I don't have the original figure, but I assume the engineering is all the same. So this is you know, looking pretty good articulation wise. Let's check out the double knee. Yep, all the way back. Come forward. There's not a boot cut here, but we have a separate peg for the ankle, so we can rotate like that at the ankle hinge. Goes pretty far forward. That's going to be good for wall crawling poses. Goes back pretty far. Now that joint there, looking a slightly different color than the rest of that red. And we got, oh, and it's kind of easy to come out. So be careful articulating the foot. But yeah, pops right back in. Very stiff toe joint, but there is a toe joint right there. So cool. I feel pretty good about that articulation. A pretty extreme, and that's kind of what you need for Spider-Man. Now let me see if I can get him back naturally standing straight up and down. There we go. Might be a little crooked, but yeah, I am very happy with the articulation. This is definitely a fun figure to pose around in hand. And the joints are stiff. It's not like, you know, some knockoffs you might get just have super loose joints and it practically falls apart in your hand. That's not the case with this figure. This figure is very solid and is articulating very well. So that's really cool to know. Now, we're going to transition so we can take a look at the accessories. All right, here is all his accessories laid out. He comes with a ton of stuff. We have 6 different web effects. Looks like 4 are the kind that will go around the wrist to make it look like he's thwipping. We got 2 long ones, 2 short ones. Then we got 2 like swinging webs. There's specific hands for those. We also have the 2 alternate mask heads, the unmasked head, which actually has a separate neck piece, unmasked, you know, just the mask, which is a cool accessory to have. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of hands, and one of those is magnet hands with magnet feet. So that is pretty cool. Let's go ahead, we'll take a closer look at the different head sculpts and really dive into those right now. Okay, first let's take a closer look at the head that comes on the figure out of the packaging. It is very classic, you know, I'd say classic as in like very 90s, wide eye, Spider-Man. Of course, this is Ben Reilly, the clone of Peter Parker, which it looks solid. This next mask that we're gonna put on is very similar though. So let's go ahead and swap that mask on. Okay, so this is the second masked head sculpt, and it's a lot like the one that came on the body. Let's see if we can pick out the differences. I think the ones that came on the body just have slightly wider eyes, where we have more of a furrowed brow on that one. But they both still look pretty good. Let's turn this guy. Yeah, very, very archy eyelids there. Very arched eyelids. Sorry, we lost our focus there. Very arched eyelids. But yeah, that's the second head. Now I'm very curious to see this more PlayStation looking Spider-Man head. And there's the third head, and that is definitely the PlayStation video game Spider-Man head. And I really like the way this one looks. This to me is like the perfect Spider-Man head in a lot of ways. It kind of combines elements of like the animated series, but it's still very, very classic looking for Spider-Man. So that's actually a really cool accessory to have included. I kind of want to play around, see if I can get that to fit on my Amazing Friends Spider-Man. Now, if we look really close, some of the paint there on the sculpted web lines don't quite hit. And yeah, and I will say with the web lines, they're sculpted on the head, this head, and on the other heads, they're like sculpted in. They're not like raised webbing, but it's into the sculpt and painted in there. But yeah, that is a pretty solid head sculpt. I like that a lot. I may try to do some stuff with that later on. But now we have one more head left to look at. All right, now here's the Ben Reilly unmasked head on there, and it's a blonde Peter Parker essentially, and I like to look at that. I will say it was easy to take the neck off, a little difficult to pop this neck on. Maybe a little heat would have made that easier, but that is the head. Now it's a very cartoon, not necessarily cartoonish, but very like hand-drawn look for it. You know, one of the things I feel like Mafex figures, you know, which these are based off of, the head sculpts are always more animated, cartoonish than, you know, say Marvel Legends that now have like the photo real tech and can get really lifelike head sculpts. But I think that looks really good. I kind of would like to maybe paint the hair brown and use this as Peter Parker, because I do want an unmasked head sculpt for my amazing friend Spider-Man. So that might be something I do, but that's a pretty solid look, and it looks just as good as probably the original figure. It doesn't, the paint applications on this head is actually surprisingly good. All right, now that we checked out all the heads, let's go ahead and check out all the different hands. Now, of course, what comes on the hands are just these relaxed open hands. And I will say with all these hands, these are like the smallest hands ever. The fingers are so skinny, so be careful not to warp those or to break those off, especially with like the whipping hands. When I put those on, you're gonna see what I mean. But so these are just the relaxed open hands. Now for the next ones. All right, and here's your standard fist hands. They look pretty good too. I will say with all these hands, you know, it's a very small paint application to get just like the 3 fingers on each hand painted red with the, you know, with the web lines on them. So they're not perfect. I wouldn't say that, but they are pretty solid. That's the fist hands. Now let's look at these thwip hands. All right, now here are the thwip hands, and they're warped coming out of the package, and they are so thin, these fingers. So be very careful with those. But those are the thwip hands. And here are the wall crawling hands. And like I said with the other hands, these are very tiny fingers, so be careful not to warp or break them. And here are the other wall crawling hands, but these have magnets in them. I'll be honest, I know this is a very small, very lightweight figure, but these magnets are very small. I'm not sure if this guy would necessarily hold up on your fridge, but that's you know, that's a possibility. But I will say it's just very small magnets, but it is a cool option to have. And then the last hands are the web swinging hands, and these hands have a little hole in them, and that allows you to use this web effect. Now it's just a plain white plastic webbing, but we can slide, let's see, let's go from the top. Yeah, slide that in there like that. And that's your web swinging hand. And then when you put the whipping hands back on, you can loop these web shooting web effects on there. And you basically take the hands off, slide them on, and then slide the hands on after them. And there you go. You get 2 sizes. You get the short ones and ones that are a little longer than this. Also, before I forget, here are the extra feet with little magnets on. As y'all saw when I was doing the articulation, the feet come off pretty easily, so you can put these on no problem. I'm just a little wary of actually seeing if these magnets can hold the weight of the figure, but it is a cool thing to have nonetheless. So now I put the relaxed hands back on there because they actually are the hands that grip the unmasked head effect, and that works pretty well. It is a very it's very flat, so it fits in those hands pretty well. It's kind of like a flattened bean shaped mask, which is a cool accessory to have. I actually bought loose off eBay the unmasked head effect that came with like the Mezco Spider-Man, and this one, and this one works well. Kind of just a regular grip hand, kind of can fit in there pretty well. But this flat one should be able to work with other hands, because really the grip is loose on this figure, but most other gripping hands will probably have a tighter grip than this. So that's all of Spider-Man's accessories. I want to pull the measuring tape out now, just to kind of get an official height on this guy. He's definitely under 6 inches. He's like 5 3/4, which isn't too bad. You should be able to fit into most of your, displays, especially if you got him like web swinging or something. Let me bring back in the Amazing Friend Spider-Man. Let me get his head looking straight up and his arms straight down by his side. Yeah, and as you can see, he's much bigger. And this is the only Spider-Man I have at the moment. I had the Renew Your Vows one at one point, but I sold it just so I could buy the 3-pack that this guy came in, and then I got the Maximum series Spider-Man on pre-order. But I do have some MCU Spider-Man, so if we look at the Tom Holland Final Swing Spider-Man, size isn't too bad. These are probably 2 of the smaller Spider-Man bodies, but they look pretty solid. So let me pull out the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. There we go. Doesn't look too bad next to him either. Definitely kind of gives off more of a teen body, younger Spider-Man, but I think that's a cool look. I do have one more Spider-Man. I have an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. This is my arm swapped lab coat Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and yeah, he's the tallest of the 3 Peters, MCU Peters, so that's the way that looks. But I'm very happy with this. This is a figure that's didn't cost me much, and it articulates very well. I do have the bootleg of the 185 coming in soon, which is more of a classic look for Spider-Man. But I am interested. Let me pull my Amazing Friends Spider-Man back out, because I am very curious with something. So we're gonna finish the video with a little customization, because I like to do that on my channel. If you watched any of my Wolverine videos, you saw that like with these Mafex CT toy heads, they have a little plastic insert that with some heat we should be able to pry off and make it work on Marvel Legends head. I'm gonna do that with this PlayStation Spider-Man head, because I want to see what that looks like on that body. All right, so here's that extra PlayStation Spider-Man head on the Amazing Friends body, and that looks real good. The reds match up actually pretty well, and then of course we swapped heads. This one, it's a little bigger, that one's a little smaller, but I think it works with the proportions of that body. All of these heads on the inside, they have this plastic insert. You can see here this little blue plastic insert. I heated the heads up, was able to pry those out, and it popped right onto that body. That works really well. Now this is just sitting on there. If I could probably, you see there's a little bit of a notch right there on that. If I was able to chip that off, I could probably then place this into this head sculpt and pop it onto the body, which this head might be something I use when I get that more classic Spider-Man CT toys in. But let's go ahead, we'll pop you back on there just so you're not headless. But I think that looks really good. This might end up becoming more of my definitive Spider-Man because of that look. Let me take some of these other heads too. Let's take that second alternate head and see what that looks like. And there's that. That's pretty, I think that kind of gives you more of a McFarlane style look for your Spider-Man, especially if you have this the Amazing Fantasy Body Mold Spider-Man. You can put this head on there and you got your Maximum series Spider-Man right there with that look. And this head's a little more narrower, and it works really well with his body. Now let me try that unmasked head. So out of all the heads, this one was actually the hardest to get that little plastic insert out. As you can see, this one, it was actually a red insert, and it was like glued in there. So there was a little bit of residue left in the head sculpt. But I like the way that looks. I feel like that might be my new unmasked Peter Parker head, especially if I come back and paint the hair brown. Because currently I have I have the head that came with the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, which is like one of my favorite looking Spider-Man heads, but when we put it on the smaller body, it's just a little too big. But I think this blonde hair, if it was painted brown, would be really good for Peter Parker. But I think I'm going with this PlayStation head for now on. Yep, that might be my go-to Spider-Man look. Let me go ahead, as we finish this review, let's get this guy back looking not so stumpy looking. So at the end of the day, I am very happy with this purchase. For a knockoff figure, it feels really good in hand, poses really well. Plus all these different accessories, I can, do a lot when it comes to posing, to the display options. Plus I'm using some of these parts for other figures. That is a bonus to me. Now, granted, maybe some of the line work on the web lines might not be 100% perfect, but this is a really solid figure for something I got for less than $20 off AliExpress. And it's allowed me to upgrade a previous figure. I am very excited about that. But I want to know what y'all think about this Spider-Man. Is this something you're interested in getting yourself? Do you like the way it looks? Does the size matter to you? Do these other parts fit into your collection as well? I want to hear all that in the comments below. Please leave me feedback. Plus, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support, all the likes, all the comments. And hey, I want you to know, if you're going through something and you just need someone to talk to, leave a comment below, leave a prayer request below. I will respond to that comment. I will pray for you. I just want you to know that I got your back. Even if I'm just someone on the internet that collects action figures, I want you to know that if you're here on my channel, I got your back. So thank you guys once again for all the support. Thank you for watching this video, watching all the way through. I always appreciate it when y'all watch these longer videos. So thank y'all, and I can't wait to show y'all what we got coming in the next couple of weeks when it comes to custom figures or other figures I will be reviewing. So until then, see ya.